Sam, welcome to R3al Talk.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I like to start these by just asking about your Web3 origin story because I always find that interesting.
Yeah, so mine starts in 2017, back when I was a banker and kind of like digging into the Ethereum white paper. And so I really clicked with Ethereum over Bitcoin at first. And so it started off as a hobbyist, kind of traded that token for my own personal account, got into crypto full time in late 2021. Have been with the Near Foundation and inside the Near ecosystem for the last almost 2 years, and yeah, it's been a pretty wild ride.
So you went straight from banking to Near?
I was in banking and then I worked at another layer one for a few months and then to Near. The first layer one was an EVM project, and there's EVM is great. We love EVM, but I wanted to kind of like dabble in the non-EVM space, and after experimenting and noodling around with different L1s from a user perspective, I was like, okay, Near feels like really different and special. And so that's kind of like when I made the jump. And the technology was different enough where I was like, this feels like it has really long-term potential. And as far as, I think EVM will have a dominant place in the industry going forward. But, after like the fourth EVM L1, like, do we really need like another, and like what are the odds of success?
Fourth EVM L1 is maybe 40.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, no, for sure. So what is your role exactly at Near?
So at Near, I've worn a bunch of different hats. I started off doing infrastructure BD. Because of my background, I'm pretty good at negotiating contracts and like thinking about the commercial aspects of any relationship. So started off doing infrastructure BD, which covered wallets, custodians, stable coins, on-ramps, and then shifted over to doing sports and entertainment business development, which is like a total departure from anything I had done before. But in crypto, you kind of just got to step up to the plate when the opportunity arises. So did sports for, I want to say, the better part of a year. Did some really cool partnerships. I got to say, like, the perks of doing sports BD are pretty unbeatable. Like, you get tickets to some pretty cool matches. But it also came with its own challenges where, working with enterprise organizations, there's a lot of layers of decision makers. There's just a lot of like legal red tape, a lot of entrenched commercial interest, contracts. So that was kind of like my diversion into sports, the sports entertainment world, which is like pretty eye-opening as well. And then around the end of last year, towards the tail end of the bear market, we started this experiment inside Near where we were kind of like, okay, how do we make the technology relevant to people outside of the ecosystem? And that's when I started working on the team that was the core team for kind of like our modular strategy, our modular initiatives. And part of that covers Near data availability as well as the fast finality layer that we're building on Eigen Layer.
So tell me about what is the modularity thesis at Near?
Yeah, I mean, it's really thinking about how do we make Near relevant for people outside of the Near echo chamber, and what part of the Near tech stack can we essentially export to other ecosystems.
Sure.
Near's always had a reputation of being having great tech, having world-class engineers, having a great one of the first sharded blockchains. So how can we take that tech and apply it to other projects? And so, when modularity came along, and credit to the Celestia team for like beating that drum for pretty consistently for multiple years. L2 season kind of started popping off last summer. Base happened in April and May, and we were like, well, we have a really solid DA layer that serves the L1 and a roll-up centric scaling roadmap. A cheap, fast, reliable DA layer is going to be something that all rollups will need. So It started off as an experiment where we were like, okay, how long will it take to tweak the DA layer of Near and extend it for rollups? Turns out like not too much work. I think the conversation started in August and we unveiled it in November. So time to market was like super rapid. And the results have been pretty what's the word? Pretty reassuring, I guess, in terms of it validated a lot of the hypotheses that we had about would people want this? Is this something people care about? And we can talk a little bit more about like the types of projects that have been more interested in near DA versus others.
Yeah, so I think just to maybe make this a little bit more available to non-technical people. So can you talk about, data availability layers and how that's used and how that's useful?
Yeah, sure. So in a very high level sense, the DA layer is a core elemental piece of any blockchain where you need to make the data from the transactions available to any participant in the network to basically replay the state of the chain using the DA and basically verify that the transactions in the blockchain are correct and accurate. So it's just like really, it's core to the concept of being able to verify, don't trust a blockchain. You can't do that without a performant DA layer. So that matters a lot in the context. It matters for any blockchain, but in the context of rollups, it's like particularly important because the base layers is Ethereum and it's super expensive and you're competing for block space with applications on the L1. And so posting call data for a rollup to the L1 is hyper expensive. And so is there a cheaper option where you rely on a modular DA layer like Near or another DA layer to serve that function? And we also happen to be an L1 that's secured by over 4 billion in TVL. So it's kind of like, there is a trade-off in security, but is it like material? Probably not. I think $4 billion in TVL securing the DA layer is pretty healthy and robust. And the fact that we've been around for 4+ years is another, I think, that selling point for Near as a DA layer.
Definitely. So you guys just announced a spin-off from Near. Can you talk about that org structure change and how that actually works in practice?
Yeah. Honestly, it's been a very unique situation, and it would not have been possible without the generosity and just really effective leadership of the Near Foundation and also Ilya. Nuffle Labs is the name of the new project, and we were incubated inside the Near Foundation and inside Pagoda, which is the core protocol team. Right now, we're 4 people, all part of the same modular team that comes from Near. It's myself, I'm the non-technical co-founder. My partner Alton is the technical founder, both members of the business development team. And then we have 2 engineers joining us from the core protocol team who built the Near DA product. And they're also working with us together on building the fast finality AVS with our partners at Nethermind. The structure of the team is just it's those 4 guys. We've worked with each other before. We've been coworkers and colleagues, and we have great chemistry. So it was pretty easy for this little band to kind of go out into the world as our own thing and work together.
Yeah, it's interesting the organizational implications of modularity, right? There's actually an org structure that goes with it. And I was just talking to Megan from the Filecoin Foundation. Protocol Labs is going through a similar stratification or decentralization of their core organization, and there's also obviously a regulatory advantage. With the Ethereum ETF, there's a lot of scrutiny or expectation that could happen for other altcoins as well, and I think there's a level of decentralization that helps that case. Right?
Yeah.
So,
and I would say that we're observing that too within the Near ecosystem. It definitely wasn't, I would say, the main impetus for Nuffle Labs spinning out, but I do see over time the Near ecosystem having more nodes in a way. Let's describe the different major participants in the ecosystem that way. And Nuffle is going to be one of the major nodes in the Near ecosystem, as well as in the Eigen Layer ecosystem and Ethereum ecosystem. So I guess a cool metaphor to describe it would be kind of like there's Planet Near and there's Planet Ethereum, and Nuffle Labs is almost like a satellite that was born on Planet Near, launched, and we orbit Planet Near, but we also orbit Planet Eigen Layer, Planet Ethereum.
Sure.
And depending on the context, our orbit kind of shifts between both of those planets. And that's honestly the awesome thing about modularity. It lets you it blurs the lines between ecosystems and really lets you collaborate with other tier 1 teams and projects.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and that's why we, IoTeX 2.0, the core of that is modularity and partnering with, Near and many others to put together the full suite of tooling to to launch a DePIN application in a modular way.
Mm-hmm.
So near, you guys have done a great job, I think, building out a DePIN ecosystem. Can you talk about your thesis for DePIN and how you've seen the engagement grow with Near?
The engagement grow within Near?
From entrepreneurs in DePIN?
Yeah. So I want to caveat this by saying I'm not a DePIN expert, but as a layperson and somebody who like really thinks that this is one of the sectors that has like a really good shot at mainstream adoption, I think the pathway to, a bright future where DePIN kind of becomes a household name is identifying use cases that can be part of worked into people's daily habits already, and if you can do it without specialized hardware, I think that's another way to successfully kind of like push forward this subsector. So what I mean by that is like if there are certain DePIN projects that can work through people's mobile phones instead of specialized hardware. So I think those projects are really interesting, and if you can do it, and if you can kind of like get people to collectively own and participate in DePIN networks through daily, normal activities like driving a car or walking or whatever, that reduces the barrier to entry for all of these different participants in a DePIN network. So I think those will probably be the types of projects that gain steam first and the quickest. And then with any new technology over time is like once you get society kind of like comfortable with this idea, then it's when you have completely new use cases turn up. And so you kind of need that intermediate step with any new kind of technology for society to kind of like do stuff that they were already sort of doing. And then once they are, comfortable with that idea, then they're more willing to experiment. So I guess a good metaphor would be like the internet. When the internet first started, people used it for things that they were already normally doing, like writing letters, writing emails, reading the newspaper, reading like an online newsletter. Being a content creator, content producer, like didn't happen until much, much later.
True.
And now that's like a pretty normal activity. And like that was the result of, the intersection of a lot of new technologies, like, mobile computing, really high quality cameras. But it's society like did not go from pre-internet to content creation like in one go.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sam, thanks so much for your time.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.